Did you know that 95% of the world's most successful innovations started with simple ideas? Yet, so many of these ideas are often overlooked because they seem too easy or obvious at first. Think about it. The post-it note, the paperclip, even the light bulb, simple, but game-changing. Why do we overlook these obvious solutions? The truth is, the best ideas are often the ones that feel too simple to be groundbreaking. In this video, we're going to uncover why great ideas are often so simple and how you can unlock your own hidden creativity by looking at things from a fresh, no-frills perspective. We'll dive into the power of repetition, the unexpected value of quiet moments, and how breaking away from traditional thinking can lead to your next big breakthrough. Stick around, and you might just discover that your next great idea is simpler than you think. Chapter 1. The Power of Simplicity. Unlocking hidden genius. We often think great ideas have to be complex, but in reality, simplicity is a creative powerhouse. The best ideas aren't always the most complicated. In fact, they are often the simplest. Think about the iPhone. Steve Jobs didn't invent a phone with a million features. He made a device that was easy to use and beautiful in its simplicity. By focusing on minimalism, Jobs transformed the tech industry. Research supports this idea. Studies have shown that people tend to prefer simplicity. A survey by the design firm, Simple Usability, revealed that 94% of users find it easier to interact with simpler designs. The key to creativity is not making things complex, but making them straightforward. When you simplify, you make your ideas more accessible and clear. Start by cutting out distractions. When brainstorming, don't overcomplicate the process. Think about the problem you're solving, and focus on the simplest way to fix it. Ask yourself, what's the easiest solution I can come up with? This approach works because simplicity helps us connect the dots faster. One of the most famous creative minds, Leonardo da Vinci, once said, "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication." He knew that great ideas often come from taking something complex and making it simple. The key is to strip away the fluff and get to the heart of the matter. Simplicity is not just about making something easy, it's about making it easier to understand. Many creative people overlook this. We assume that a great idea needs to be fancy or complicated, but the truth is, the simpler it is, the more people will connect with it. Take the example of the post-it note. It was created by accident but became one of the simplest and most revolutionary office supplies ever. The idea was straightforward: attach sticky paper to any surface. Yet, it solved a problem millions of people didn't even know they had. If you look closely, you'll see that many successful ideas come from everyday life. They might seem ordinary, but with a simple twist, they become extraordinary. Focus on simplicity, and you'll be amazed at how many ideas are right in front of you. Chapter 2. The Myth of Complexity. Why big ideas don't have to be big. We often think that great ideas must be big, grand, or world-changing. But this myth can hold us back from exploring the simplicity of creative solutions. Think about Velcro. It's a simple invention, but it has transformed many industries. Sometimes, the smallest ideas have the biggest impact. In the book The Lean Startup, Eric Ries talks about how simplicity can lead to more successful innovations. He encourages entrepreneurs to focus on creating a minimum viable product, MVP. The MVP is the simplest version of your idea that can solve the problem. It doesn't need to be fancy or overthought, just effective. Data backs this up. A 2018 study from the Harvard Business Review showed that companies who focus on creating simple, user-friendly products are 4 times more likely to succeed than those that create overly complex ones. Keeping things simple allows businesses to focus on what truly matters: the problem and the solution. The key here is to rethink what big means. A big idea doesn't need to be complicated. It's about solving a major problem in a simple way. The founder of Google, Larry Page, once said, "You don't need to have a 100-person company to develop that idea." This shows that big ideas often come from small, simple beginnings. Look at the success of Airbnb. The original idea was simple: rent a space in your home. This simple concept grew into a billion-dollar company. The simplicity of Airbnb was its genius. It didn't try to reinvent the hotel industry. It just made it easier to use. Sometimes, the best way to think about big ideas is to break them down. If you focus on solving small, everyday problems, you'll find that big ideas come naturally. The simpler you keep it, the easier it is to build something that lasts. Remember, big ideas don't need to be complicated. In fact, the simpler your approach, the easier it is for others to adopt and adapt. The world doesn't need more complexity, it needs solutions that everyone can use and understand. Chapter 3. The overlooked genius of obvious ideas. Many great ideas seem so obvious that we overlook them. This is where most people miss out. They assume that if an idea seems too simple or too obvious, it can't be important. But history is full of ideas that were obvious yet groundbreaking. For example, the invention of the light bulb by Thomas Edison wasn't a complex scientific breakthrough. It was an obvious solution to the problem of lighting. But while others had the same idea, it was Edison's determination to keep things simple that made his light bulb successful. In Originals by Adam Grant, he highlights how many successful entrepreneurs and creatives are simply those who recognize and embrace the obvious ideas that others ignore. They don't overcomplicate things, they see the potential in simplicity. The most successful innovators aren't always the ones with the most original ideas. They're the ones who recognize great ideas and bring them to life, Grant explains. Statistics show how often we overlook the obvious. A study from the University of Cambridge found that people tend to reject ideas that are too simple because they assume they're not creative. But the most successful products are often the simplest ones. The sticky note, the paperclip, and the zipper, they all seem obvious, but they revolutionized the way we work. So how can we stop overlooking obvious ideas? Start by questioning the simplest ideas first. Ask, what would happen if I embraced this obvious solution? By asking this question, you'll likely discover a simple yet powerful idea that others might miss. There's a lesson here. Don't overcomplicate your ideas. Embrace the simplicity and obviousness of what's in front of you. The key is to see the value in what others overlook. Sometimes, the most straightforward ideas are the ones that have the greatest potential for success. Remember, great ideas often feel too simple to be groundbreaking. But when you take the time to explore them, you'll realize they're exactly what the world needs. So, the next time an idea feels too obvious, don't dismiss it. Lean into it. Subscribe reminder. If you're enjoying these insights, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more creative tips and strategies. Chapter 4. The hidden value of repetition. Great ideas are in plain sight. Repetition is a powerful tool when it comes to creativity. Many groundbreaking ideas weren't created overnight, they were the result of constant revisiting and refining. The secret is not to be afraid of repeating the process. Sometimes, going over the same thing again and again can reveal fresh insights. In the book Atomic Habits, James Clear discusses how repetition can lead to mastery and creativity. By repeating a task, we train our brains to see new connections. When you go back to an idea multiple times, you start noticing small details that you initially missed. This is where the magic happens. Think about how artists create. Often, they don't just make one sketch and call it a day. They make several iterations, each time improving or changing a tiny detail. That's how great ideas come together, step by step, with each repeat bringing something new. Repetition also helps with finding simplicity in your ideas. The more you repeat something, the more you learn to strip away unnecessary elements, leaving only what truly matters. This process of elimination leads to the clean, simple ideas that often change the game. Research by the Journal of Creative Behavior found that people who embrace repetition in their creative work are 50% more likely to develop successful ideas. This goes against the belief that new ideas always come from a single, eureka, moment. Instead, they often come from consistent effort and a willingness to tweak ideas until they feel right. So, how can you use repetition to unlock great ideas? Start by revisiting your previous projects, sketches, or thoughts. Ask yourself, what can I improve? What have I missed? This process of refinement is where you'll uncover the brilliance hiding in plain sight. Instead of trying to force a groundbreaking idea from scratch, embrace the power of repetition. It can be the key to discovering the hidden value in your work. Often, the best ideas are right in front of us, they just need a few rounds of repetition to shine. Chapter 5. Quiet Ideas. Why creativity thrives in the unassuming. In a world filled with noise, creativity often thrives in silence. Many great ideas come not from loud brainstorming sessions, but from quiet moments of reflection. In these moments, we can hear our own thoughts clearly and let creativity flow naturally. Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple, once said, "It was the quiet moments that led to my best ideas." He believed that the loud world around him would only distract him from his creative flow. Often, we overlook how powerful silence can be in fostering new ideas. Studies show that solitude helps boost creativity. A 2014 study by the University of Michigan found that people who spent time alone were 40% more likely to come up with creative solutions to problems. Silence gives our brains the space it needs to think freely and connect ideas in new ways. This doesn't mean you need to lock yourself away in a quiet room all the time. But sometimes, stepping away from distractions and giving yourself space to think can lead to breakthroughs. Turn off your phone, step outside, and just sit with your thoughts. In quiet. The power of introverts in a world that can't stop talking. Susan Cain emphasizes how quiet people often make the best innovators. Cain points out that introverts tend to have a different approach to creativity, one that values depth and reflection over external stimulation. This doesn't mean you need to be an introvert, but it shows how important quiet time is for generating creative ideas. So, next time you're stuck, try stepping back and embracing silence. Whether it's taking a walk in nature or sitting in a quiet space, give your brain room to wander. Creativity often blossoms when we stop trying to force it and simply let it unfold. Remember, creativity doesn't always need a noisy environment or constant stimulation. It can thrive in the quiet, unassuming moments where we can truly listen to our own thoughts. Chapter 6. Breaking the Pattern. How unconventional simplicity sparks innovation. To unlock creativity, sometimes you need to break the pattern. Many great ideas come not from following the usual path but from looking at the problem from a different angle. Conventional thinking can trap us, but unconventional simplicity can spark innovation. Consider the story of the Wright brothers. Instead of following the usual approach to flight, they thought differently. While everyone else was trying to build a heavier-than-air machine, they focused on the simplicity of lightweight, controlled flight. Their unconventional thinking led to the first successful flight in 1903. In The Innovator's Dilemma, Clayton Christensen talks about how disruptive innovation often comes from thinking outside of traditional boundaries. Disruptors don't follow the normal rules. They challenge the status quo and find new ways to solve old problems. This kind of thinking is what leads to breakthrough ideas. Research backs up the idea that unconventional thinking leads to creative solutions. A 2015 study from the Creativity Research Journal found that people who break from traditional patterns are 30% more likely to come up with innovative solutions. These innovators don't follow the crowd, they create their own path. The beauty of unconventional thinking is that it allows us to break free from the limitations we've set for ourselves. By challenging the norm, we open up new possibilities. So, instead of asking, "How can I improve on this existing idea?" ask, "How can I look at this in a completely different way?" This unconventional approach isn't about doing something radical for the sake of it. It's about finding a simpler, more effective way to solve a problem. By questioning the usual methods and thinking outside the box, you'll discover new solutions that others might miss. The key to breaking the pattern is to stay curious. Ask questions, challenge assumptions, and don't be afraid to think in ways others might find strange. Innovation often happens when we step away from the beaten path and try something different. So, the next time you feel stuck, take a step back and ask yourself, what's the unconventional way to solve this? You might find that the simplest, most innovative solution is the one that no one else has considered. Subscribe reminder. If you want more tips on how to unleash your creativity and generate big ideas, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. You'll be the first to know when we release more strategies for creative thinking.